Let's see what the human problem is not. The human problem is not the absence of the curative medicine, but the absence of men and women who want to take the medicine. Human beings live in a very strange, painful part of their mind, a very limited part of their mind. Living in this part of the mind, they make friends with some terrible renters in their house, mental house, like called imagination, like called vanity, so that the individual incredibly finds the most difficult thing for him to say to himself is, I'm not making it. He isn't making it, but he can't say, I'm not making it. Because there's a blockage there. There's a part of him that says, look how successful I am socially. I'm not bad looking. I can do this or that. And he clings to that as a sign of making it. Now, you're going to have to do some hard work tonight. Some hard work you've never done before. And I'll tell you how to start. I'm going to help you to start. I'm going to tell you that you're not making it. I'm going to tell you that you never have made it in the right way, in the higher way. You've made it according to your definitions. When you don't make it, when you haven't found yourself, that is, when you haven't encountered truth, then you have a certain way of living with yourself. And I'll describe it to you very simply. It's miserable. Because you haven't made anything higher, you cling to the wretchedness of your present life and say, I'm making it, for heaven's sake, what are you making? And before even that, you don't even know that you're telling yourself that you've got it made. I want to recommend something to you very strongly. I want you to recommend listening to yourself when you try to convince yourself and your friends that you're all right. I want you to listen to another voice that mocks what you said. And I'll tell you, if any of you in this room ever succeed in hearing that mocking voice that says, no, you don't have it made, you'll begin to have it made. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you that the talk tonight and truth itself, and they're the same thing, by the way, are not here to distress you, but to reveal to you that you're already distressed. You don't have any happiness. What you have is a very strange strife and nervousness that you cling to, but it's not happiness. Now let me tell you, and you listen to this very carefully, because I'm talking about your life. And at the end of this talk, you'll be able to change your direction if you listen to what I'm going to say. Instead of listening to your own reactions, which is what you've done so far in the first few minutes of this talk. You've been listening to your own reactions. I don't want you to listen to them anymore. I want you to know them. I want you to get acquainted with them. Look, I know you. And I know how you're already taking me in this talk and this talk. You think because I'm speaking forcefully, which I am, which is very easy to do when you know what you're talking about. You think, because I'm speaking forcefully, that in some way that seems to be a danger to you. See how protective you are of not making it in the true way? You're always worried that something or someone is going to take something of value away from you. But how can that be true when you don't have anything of value? I know that. And at the end of the talk, if you be honest enough to know that you don't have anything, then you would have been here favorably. It's been a good thing for you to be here, because it begin to knock a little bit of nonsense out of you. The nonsense that you have called, well, what do you call yourself? What flattering labels do you constantly stick all over you, hoping that they'll stick, which they won't, they'll fall off. There's no glue strong enough in the psychic world to keep your label on all the time. It's always falling off, which is why you're so jittery all the time. Trying to impress someone, for example. Now, I better tell you very, very frankly, right to the point tonight, the kind of a person who will never make it. That means that you'll never be anything but what you are here tonight. I'm going to tell you the kind of person who isn't going to transcend himself, which you have a chance to do if you're listening rightly. You can never be authentically wise if you already think you are. You will never, ever have spiritual strength that can conquer the whole world if you think you already have it. And you do think it, but it's imagination. It's a little picture that you keep up in your mind about yourself, and you're afraid to let it go lest you lose the only identity you have. Don't you realize that the only way you're ever going to be something new is to lose something old? That's all you are. You're old. That's why you're bored. That's why you can't stand another day. Come on, I challenge you. Listen to this challenge. When you get up in the morning, are you in charge of yourself and your day, or you worry over it? You know you're worried over it, because you're going to be defeated all day long. You got up defeated. You're going to be defeated wherever you go, because that's your nature. I want to emphasize something. We've talked about it before, but let's see if maybe tonight it'll get through to you. You have no life at all, existence only. But you think that you are someone. You think that what you see here with your physical eyes and what you think about, you think that that is a very definite person, different from that person. And you're afraid of anything and everything, including this talk, afraid of anything that would seem to be a danger to you as you now see yourself, which is through the eyes of imagination. You don't really care at all if you're sad. I'm telling you, you don't. You are glad you're sad. Why do you think people get miserable and get depressed and get distressed and upset? Why do you think they do that? Why do you think you do it? Why do you think you get mournful and frustrated? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you, I'll use the word sad to cover the whole wretched business, all right? You get sad because you insist on being sad. If you didn't want to ever be depressed again, you would never ever be depressed again over anything. Anything! But you want to be competitive, don't you? That's half your life. Trying to score more points than the other man or the neighbor. Trying to prove, this will get you, trying to prove to your parents, whether they're still here or not, trying to prove to your parents that you're a worthy son, a worthy daughter. You want to do that, don't you? You're so desperate to be someone else, and you're the one who makes it impossible for you really to be someone else in the right way, because you want you. Any kind of disappointment, hurt, anxiety, worry, pain, any kind of pain that you feel, I am telling you that it is a self-imposed hoax that you just love. And you've done nothing all your life but love it. You've got something to do with yourself, haven't you, when you can cry? Get mad at the boss. Why should you ever get mad at the boss or anyone else? There's about 10 ways we could go on that question, and I'll choose one of them. You get mad at the boss and depressed over the evening news. You get sad over the event because it's simply a very foolish hoax that you think you must go along with. You don't know it's a hoax. You don't know that all you ever do is not follow you. You have no real life. You have a mechanical existence only. All you do is do the easy thing. How easy it is to get irritable. How many times were you irritable today? How many times in your whole life have you argued with someone, with a situation, and said that you were the right one and the other person was the wrong one? When you have to prove that you're right, you're automatically wrong because you have to prove something and you're proving absolutely nothing. And the next day you have to do the same thing. I'll make a spiritual prophecy for all of you. And it'll be 100% accurate. As I told you, spiritual prophecies always are. Unless you pay attention and begin to want to listen to this talk tonight, you're not going to have anything but you for the rest of your life. A few short years that everybody has. You're going to have to live with you. And at the end of your life, you won't have anything worthwhile. You have a chance tonight to get something valuable. And you are sitting there. I know you. I know parts of your mind are resisting. You're sitting there. You're sitting there with it. I can't tell you how awful it is, but I'm going to try using words which are never adequate. You like being scared of what I'm telling you. You like resisting it. The chooser in you has allowed yourself to fall into the river, the murky, dark river that you always fall into, and do what you always do. Arguing with the talk. You argue with this talk that you're hearing now, and you're going to be worse off than you ever were before. That's a prophecy, and it'll come true. You know why? Because you yourself know what I'm telling you is right. Yes, you do. You resist it, you argue with it, goodbye to you. One way or the other. Now, how can can you ever expect to be free of this horrible haunting that you had today? Or anything scared you? And you even had a very, very dim sensing when you're walking down that street or walking into the cafe or going out of the office. You had a very, very dim, faint sensing that there's something wrong. But you're not able to see it. But I'm telling you, it was there. And I said that to make you conscious from now on, starting right now, that you're always to know that there's something wrong. And what's wrong is the nature you have. Nothing else. Please don't waste your time and throw away your life like the mindless masses do, trying to change the social structure, thinking that voting for this or that, or lobbying for this or that, is going to make you any happier. The more you try to change the outer world, the less you have a chance to change your inner world, and it is you who is suffering. How ridiculous for you to think that if you can persuade that woman to behave in a different way, or that man to give you more of what you want. How ridiculous for you to think that you can impact the world or that neighbor or friend or spouse or whatever. How ridiculous for you to think that if you can influence them in some way that you'll be happier, that you'll feel relieved of the recurring shocks that you have all day long. You'll never be free of them. Now let me tell you in summary what I'm telling you here tonight. You're how old? Say your age. Let's pull one out of the air. 44. You're 44 years old. You've wasted those 44 years. You've got absolutely nothing. Now, what is worse than wasting 44 years of your life is to waste 45 years of your life, and 48, and 56. That's what's worse. I'm telling you that whatever your age is now, right now, this talk tonight, here and now is the time for you to no longer be afraid, to just let go of your whole life. That doesn't mean you're going to lose going down and making your living. You'll continue to do that. You'll still have your family. You'll still take a drive and see the pretty countryside. That doesn't go away. When I'm talking about you losing your present ways, I'm talking about you not being afraid of dropping everything that you now call valuable. I told you a few minutes ago, let's try it again. You have no wealth at all. You might have $1 billion in the bank. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about tonight. You have no strength. You crumble the smallest word of disapproval from someone. Think how ridiculous this is. You're worried about losing the good life you have. All you've had is a bad life. See? You haven't had any relief from the pounding pain, have you? You've never had real relief? Even when you went to the party or had that friendship or whatever, or went to the ball game, even when you went there, you took it with you. This is why you're always worried what's going to happen to you after the ball is over. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one out where dancers around on the dance floor. It can be the ballroom you've set up inside your own mind in an attempt to exchange your very definite heaviness for lightness and your misery for happiness. So I have to go into something pretty deep now to make it extra clear to you. The mind is the mind. Thoughts are thoughts. You're chasing around inside the prison of your own mind, trying to find a comfortable room in it. There's no comfortable rooms in a prison. They're all cramped little cells. No windows. It's dark in there and cold. Can't see the sky. You can't see the sun. It will never, ever, ever do you any good to try to think your way out of your present difficulties, and you know what they are. Go ahead, think of them right now. Get a list of your 3 worst problems, crises in your life. Got them? The worst ones right now, they switch fast, don't they? Yesterday it was 3 different ones. But you take 3 of them now. Now I'm going to tell you something. You're never going to get rid of them. You're just going to shove them off into another cell in that vast prison of your own psychic system. And they'll come walking back again to haunt you wherever you are in that prison. As long as you're in the prison, you're going to be haunted by yourself. You yourself being the prison. See, this is tremendous what I just told you. It seems as if I'm saying that it's a hopeless condition. No. It's not a hopeless condition. Listen to this. It's not hopeless as long as you know that it really is hopeless. If you can follow that. If you can understand that. If you're trapped inside a big abandoned prison, Alcatraz, they've abandoned Alcatraz up there in the island in San Francisco Bay. If you're inside that, wandering around trying to get out, but it's all locked in there, if you can't depend on yourself, if you can't depend on your mind to say, well, maybe I can find an old rusty key somewhere and get out. If you know that it's hopeless for you to do it, and you think about that for a long time, and you consider to continue to consciously, and that's an important word in this sentence, you can continue to more or less consciously drive yourself crazy trying to get out, and you fail and you fail and you fail, just as you have failed and failed and failed. You're nothing but a failure here tonight, and you know it. You feel it. Now I want you to bring it up to consciousness so that you have no hope in yourself anymore. Oh, to do that, you have to follow an extremely powerful spiritual principle rule. You must get utterly hopeless, know that you're not making it, and stop right there. You are not allowed anymore to find your own salvation according to your own tricky little devices, because that's your mental sickness wanting to hang on to itself. Your mental sickness doesn't want you to get well. It wants to trick you. And how is it doing so far? How about your... I like the word rage. I'll tell you why. The word rage, with which you're very personally familiar, the word rage is better than anger, because rage is emotional and it's physical. A man in rage, he's shaking his fists. The idiots walking down some street shaking their fist against the opposing country or whatever. Rage. You have rage, don't you? You keep it down to a whisper, don't you, that you get furious, that you get rageful. I'm trying to get you to be honest tonight so that you realize that your rage your rage as much as it is in your outburst against society and your ex-wife and your ex-husband. I want you to realize once and for all, that your rage is not going to open that prison door and get you out of there. The rage is the prison. You know what we've come to in the talk? We've made a nice little circle. I told you that you love your rage. You can't live without it. You practice it all the time. 99% of it in secret inside of you. You don't go around shaking your fist like the people in front of other people. You might get fired, or the girl will get afraid of you and will run away from you. You know how to play it pretty smooth. You're pretty good at concealing your anger. We better get stronger than that. You're pretty good at concealing your hatred, aren't you? Now, with the lessons that you hear in this room, you can take the following different kind of course, which will get you outside of yourself. That's the only problem. You don't have any problem with any other human being on earth. No one. Drop it. Forget it. Don't think you have a problem with your wife, girlfriend, boss, anyone, neighbor. No, you don't have a problem with that. Only with yourself. If you know that, if you know it even just a little bit, then you're going to work in the right place. Then you're going to catch yourself someday inside your own prison, your emotions getting hot, right? And you're going to remember what you heard here tonight. And hearing it and remembering it, you absolutely must go through this experience. And the physical is very good because you can see it, you can feel it, you can see your hands. One day, if you ever make it, and you're going to have to do 1,000 times better than you are to ever make it. You're not going to make it the way you're going now. You are not going to make it the way you're living now. You're a failure. You're a flop. What a tragedy. You're a flop in life and you don't even know. You don't even know it and you don't want to know it. Here you'll know it, and that's the first step toward saving yourself. Anyway, about the rage. What were you rageful toward today? Something you dropped on the kitchen floor and you get mad. What? You name it. Something didn't come through the way you wanted. Someone didn't behave the way you wanted them to, and so you get mad. You get self-righteous about it, and you yelled at them, didn't you? At least in your mind. The next time you feel yourself starting to burn and lying and saying that it's the injustices of this world that have to be changed, you stop being a stupid little coward and take a look at yourself. At the moment that you are whining and raging. Look, your hands are going like that. Maybe it's inside your mind, but maybe it's physical too. Right inside that. Now I want to tell you something. This is beautiful, marvelous. This is what I'm going to tell you is real salvation. If you remember the talk, you can't come to one talk. You have to come to all talks. You're so far gone. It's going to take you years just to get back to the point where you can start to go uphill. That's a fact. Right? While you're getting rageful, you notice it, and you remember what you heard that evening. And if you surrender your will at that moment, just surrender, never mind what God's will is, you don't know that yet. You surrender your will, that is, you give up your concepts and ideas that you're doing right. Just drop them. I'm going to give you this stupendously beautiful news. If you will choose to not continue with that rage, that disappointment, if you will choose not to continue with it and let your hands go out, let your face go from red back to his normal white color. If you just take a breath, you will know the tremendous spiritual truth that says you must first die in order to live. And you will also know that the falling away of your love for your usual hostility, you will realize that the relaxing of the hands and the mouth gets its normal shape and the eyes don't flash. You will realize that you had been and have been captured, possessed by something incredibly cunning and evil that could make you get mad any time it wanted, and you followed instructions like a little puppet. Do you realize now what you have realized? You've broken through a little bit. You know that you were in this state of unconsciousness. The 10,000 times that you got rageful from the time you were born up till now, not in a single instance of those 10 or 20,000 times that you got furious and lost control of yourself, by the way, not once out of 30,000 times while it was happening did you know it was happening. You were so completely taken over. Like that. You were staring and glaring and scowling out at that world out there, hating the world. Well, that means just a machine is operating. There's no conscious person there. There's no awareness. There's no goodness. There's no spirituality. Look, please. That's the way an animal operates. It's the way a weasel operates. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just follows his own instincts. He follows his weasel-like mind. And a weasel is going to get in trouble out in the woods all the time from the bigger animals and going to get hurt. So only one way to stop getting hurt, to stop being you. To stop thinking that it is necessary for you to get mad in order to survive. You're not surviving. There is no hope for anyone unless he goes through over a period of years. And already, how many have I lost already by saying that? You might as well hear it. There is no hope for you finding eternal life, which exists, by the way, not for you as yet, and maybe never if you reject what you're hearing. There is no hope for any man or woman unless he goes through that hard, shocking inner experience until it becomes clear to him that he must give up his life in order to find his life. You've heard that before, but you've never practiced it because you think you already have life. One characteristic of having life with a capital L is to be free of the rages of the world. You're not free of them. You like to argue with them. You like to cower before them. You like to be afraid. When you know who you are without thinking about it, that is a spiritual state, and there's no rage in that. There's no rage in you, therefore there's no rage that can harm you out there because there's no connection in the two. The heathenistic, raving world can do anything it wants. It can slide down as long as it wants, down to destruction, which it is doing. And you will know absolutely that you are not going with it. See, follow real close. You don't know presently that you're sliding downhill fast. I'm telling you, you don't know it. You feel the pain of it. That's not the same thing as knowing it. You're suffering from it, yes, terribly, awfully. You're suffering from being you. What else? I gave you an illustration about the rage. If you can catch yourself at the moment, that's the same thing as you catching yourself going downhill. You catch the rage and you, what am I doing with clenched fists? Why am I hating everything? Why do I feel bad and terrified and jittery at least 50 times in one day? Why? That man giving that talk said the reason I do that is because I love it but don't know that I love it. I love being miserable. Yes, you do. It's the only nature you have, and you cling to that for fear there's nothing else. I'm telling you, there is something else. I'm telling you that you thinking you're real, you're the one who's unreal. You're an unreal person thinking that you're real, but the evidence that you're not real is right in front of you because you want to argue. You want to argue with this talk. You argue with anything you've heard here tonight, and I'll tell you what's going to happen to you. You're going to lose. You're going to continue to lose. There's no way you can argue with what you're hearing here. No way. But you can accept it. You can stop destroying yourself. Now, I know why you continue to destroy yourself. And it's one of the key thoughts which you must see thoroughly for authentic self-transformation. You believe in the kingdom of yourself. You believe in it. You think it's real. It is not. It's an imposter. It's a faker, and you've believed in the faker. We use the illustration of you being in abandoned Alcatraz prison up in San Francisco Bay on the little island out there. You're angry because you're not out, and you rush around. You can't find the way out. You can't of your own thoughts get outside of your own prison. But when you cease to get mad, when you cease to think that you're already out, when you cease to lie to yourself, you transcend the mind and you're out. Now I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something that you haven't experienced, and it'll take you a little time to do it. Because you're going to fight. You're fighting me. I know you're fighting me. I know when you could have learned something here tonight, but you're always the wise man. You know better. I'll tell you the kind of world that you can live in. I'll make it as down to earth as possible. This heavenly area, I'll make it down to earth as possible. If you're around your home, you're at work, anywhere, doesn't make a difference where you are, and you're attacked. Now remember, you're only attacked by yourself, by your own thoughts. I don't care what you saw out there that worried you. You reacted with worry and anxiety because you wanted to. That's how you feed yourself. That's how you keep yourself sick, which you love. You love keeping yourself sick by getting mad. Well, why do they do that? All right. You can be strong with a spiritual strength, so strong and so alert and so intelligent with spiritual intelligence now, not your mind. I'm talking about spiritual intelligence. You can see that worry come toward you, and the Spirit of truth itself will say no to it, and it has no choice but to go away and leave you alone. Now, the way you are now, you welcome it. You want it to come in. You hug the imposter. You hug the monster that is draining the life away from you. You love it. I'm telling you about something that's very high. I'll give you something to think about. This is all positive, but this is a heavenly thought you can take with you because our time is running out. I want you to think of how different you would be, what a different kind of a human being, man or woman you'd be, if you never ever get sad again, never get lonely again, never needed to criticize anyone again or to get a feeling of superiority. Think of what a different kind of a person you'd be. That's true life. That's eternal life. Now, that's not enough, because you're always tricking yourself, and you've been doing it during the talk. You're tricking yourself. You want to stay you. You're to be very conscious of the fact that you are utterly and completely helpless in the face of all these impressions that come to you and slam you down into gloom. My friend left me. Prices are outrageous. I don't know how I'm going to handle that crisis. You will never, ever again believe in that trash. You're dramatizing yourself as a means of trying to make yourself believe in yourself. And you will now see that you are indeed helpless, and stop right there. Because if you don't stop there, you'll lie and say, the next drink will make me feel better. Or those plans, they're kind of secret plans, and nobody knows what that is but me. But boy, when that succeeds, they'll sit up and take notice of me when I do that. You've been saying that since you were a little child in grammar school. You've been saying that's going to be right around the corner. You know who you meet right around the corner? You know who you meet. You meet yourself, and you know that. The reason you're so miserable is because you have to live with yourself. There's no other reason for it. Now, you're going to do the best you can for the rest of tonight until we meet again. So know that you're a helpless hypocrite. Now that's very easy to do because that's what you are. Simple. You don't have to work at it. You just have to see it. You just have to realize it. When you know you're a helpless hypocrite, when you know it, then you realize that even being a helpless hypocrite was a part of your false identity. Oh, I tell you, don't miss a single class for the rest of your life. Don't you miss a single class here for the rest of your life. If you do, you're not going to make it. You don't realize the urgency of what's happening to you. How many years you got left, by the way? How many years you got left? Yeah. You can laugh off this class. You can do it if you're mad. You can laugh off anything except one thing. You just try to laugh off the end of your existence here in this life, in this world. You like try laughing off. You just try laughing that off and see how it flops. That's one thing you can't laugh off. This is the one thing. This is one thing among many things that we can answer for you in this room. We can tell you how to get rid of that ridiculous pretending that you don't care. pretending that you're not afraid. You're not afraid. You're stiff with terror all day long. Have the honesty to see it. Much more to learn. Come back to every single class and we'll learn it together. Good night.